What if stories could change lives? Good evening, everybody. My name is Dumi. I'm the co-founder of Shanda, and we provide easy podcast editing for storytellers. Tonight, I'd like to share just how I learned how powerful stories could be. So I grew up in Zimbabwe, which is a wonderful country, but it was also quite complicated in that Zimbabwe was very politically and economically turbulent. So often I had to move around often. And when I moved away, I craved for local stories to stay connected, because all the stories that I found when I went online were incredibly negative. So to bring positive energy to my community, I started a podcast where I interviewed impactful people doing amazing things. And one of the episodes, we interviewed someone who was sending girls to school during the pandemic. Girls like Grace here, who couldn't afford to go to school, but needed a helping hand to get going. And that really inspired me. So with our community of a modest audience of 200 listeners, we raised $500 and we sent 10 girls to school. And it made me realize, well, this isn't, thank you. And I realized this is just a podcast. I mean, podcasts are truly a medium of storytelling, and stories can have a meaningful impact on people. But making a podcast was really hard. In fact, 75% of people that start podcasts end at episode 4. And often the reason is that the tools are extremely technical for an average person to get started. And as a result, editing becomes long, incredibly fragmented to tell you a story, and expensive to outsource. So to solve my problem when I got to Georgetown, I reached out to my amazing friend Paul to find a solution.
Thank you, Dumi. And so Dumi convinced me with his passion for storytelling and podcasting. And together we set out to interview more than 100 podcast creators to really understand their pain points and their challenges in the medium. What we came up with as a solution is a platform that takes your raw recording and allows you with an easy workflow to get to a published episode very quickly, very easily. What we found is that using the platform, you'd be able to go from what took 5 hours to do it to something like 10 minutes or under. Big throughput. So this is important because when we lower these barriers, confident storytellers emerge and they're able to grow their audience naturally. And eventually the stories become even more impactful because they're reaching more people. We are allowing your users and enticing them on our platform with 2 free hours of processing. After that, we're converting them to a pro paid tier. It's $11.99, a price low enough for beginners to want to commit to. The 2 groups that we're targeting with whom this has really resonated were students in media who have a keen sense of storytelling, and professional writers on apps like Substack and Medium. So far, we have 200 active users using our platforms and creating amazing podcasts on a daily basis. And we have good traction on our Pro plan as well. Now, the sector we're targeting is the independent creator sector. And thanks to companies like Patreon and Substack, this is worth an impressive $27 billion and growing. Looking at our competition, there are 2 groups. First, we'll call the wave-based, the old technology, which looking at the software, it looks like you need an audio engineering degree, not good. And then the text-based ones that leverage machine learning to do transcription automatically. Within this sector, we're positioning ourselves as quicker, easier, and cheaper.
So our vision is to tell stories. We believe stories has the power to impact the world and change lives for the better. And our ask is if you know somebody who has a story to tell and wants to do it with time savings in an efficient manner, please let them reach out to us so we can help them tell their story. Thank you.